the FNL Network talk show.
Welcome to the FNL Network award-winning talk show. I am here with the amazing cast and the people who make this happen, some of the people behind the scenes that are there. This is our 100th episode. 100th episode of the FNL Network talk show, which is an award-winning show. So I want to first thank everyone that has been on the show, everyone that's currently on the show, Stephen Bridges, Bethany Robinson, and everyone else that's involved to make the FNL Network what it is. I want to say a huge thank you to the Taste Awards, which awarded the show recently in Los Angeles, and it was amazing to be there with some of the cast and crew. So for this episode, as everyone sees, we have more than 4 hosts. I wanted to get some extra hosts involved, and I'm here as well as a special guest host for this episode. I'll be back for the 200th, the 300th, and 400th, and 500th episode later on. But the first topic that I want to introduce to the group today is the former President Trump indictment. Now, what are your opinions on what's happening? And before I let everyone answer, I'll give my opinion. I think it's horrible for the country. I think it sets a precedent for future issues with political rivals among the parties. No matter what party you're affiliated with, it's never happened before. And in my opinion, it just makes the United States of America look lesser than what it is. That's my opinion. So someone else can take the stage.
Rocco, I love how you say this show can't be political. No politics. It's all humanitarian. As a Russian can prove that I'm not political at all. I, support refugees. I support humanitarian, support life. And it's a very hard issue, I think, and also coming from so many political backgrounds. I totally agree with you. I hear a lot about it. I'm in Bahamas right now. Left and right and being separated so much in this country. I think it creates so many issues for people about the future and so many issues for America. I honestly am concerned about that. I think we should step past the cancel culture at some point. Please stop canceling people. Just let's have a critical conversation. It almost goes to for me as a family. We all have dysfunctional families. I have family who is half Ukrainian, half Russian, maybe somewhere, and people argue, but you can't resolve issues that way, no matter how big or how small they are. So I think definitely, creating more problems for US now, it's a problem for me to just, move into this country and knowing that, there is some kind of freedom more than where I came from. I really hope for that. So I definitely think it's a bad idea.
John?
I fully disagree. I think Trump is a criminal. This is the first of many indictments to follow. It's the weakest, dumbest case that came first. So that's the part. I don't think anybody on either side should be gloating like, oh, we got him, yeah. But at the end of the day, I blame Trump 110% for this happening. A, he was, trained by criminals in the mafia. That's how he got his start after his daddy gave him millions of dollars, or he wouldn't even be where he is. B, he's up for indictment for, trying to overturn an election in Georgia, saying, find 13,000 votes wherever you can. I mean, that's a smoking gun, no matter what. I mean, he told the guy to lie and to change the election of the United States of America, which is a huge problem. And then when he lost, like the big baby he is, he told everybody, fight like hell, and then did not call him off when they were about to hang Mike Pence. So this man has many indictments yet to follow. This is only the first in many to come. It's the weakest about sleeping with a porn star. However, Cohen, his lawyer, went to jail. Giuliani, his other lawyer, was disbarred. Steve Bannon was indicted. Everyone around this man is a criminal. So if it walks like a duck, it talks like a duck. Either it's at Marianne's house or it's a damn duck. Like Trump. That's what I said. That's my 2 cents.
Oh my God.
But I have no
Well,
opinions on this whole matter.
Oh, right. I see that. I see
Not
that.
at all. Not at
Okay, Marianne.
Woo! I love the duck comment, Sean. That was
all.
excuse me. Wow. As far as this goes, if the man did something wrong, I feel like he should be held responsible. And I do think he has done some bad things. I do. I'm like Eugenia. I'm not super political. I try not to get super political. But I do think there is an extra big focus on Trump, more so than other presidents, as far as him getting, having this happen. There's probably, I think most politicians have a lot of greed and a lot of things they do in the background that we don't know about. I think a lot of politicians are crooked. It's just a matter of which one's stuff comes to light. And a lot of his stuff has come to light. So while I do think that if he's done something wrong, it should be looked into and he should have to pay the consequences. I do think it could be bad for the US. I think it really just depends. There's so many things up in the air right now. And it's like, we don't know which way it's going to go yet. So again, I'm not the most political person. I try to get along with everybody when it comes to politics. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But the whole porn star thing, Sean, yeah. I mean, that needs to be addressed too. I think that if there were things that were illegal, fraudulent, or morally corrupt that were done, there needs to be some consequences. So those are my basic thoughts on the situation.
And I know Bettina needs to go, but there's a couple ironies. He paid for hush money. And look, now he's being indicted. It's like the opposite of hush money. And this man never shuts up. And he's being indicted by a guy called Brad. So, I mean, the ironies on so many levels are really there. And I think, when you go against every single group of people from, the homosexuals to every single race known to man other than white people and uneducated white people are going to hate you. So you're creating enemies. The majority of people in power do not like this man. He has a crazy town base of 30-40% who are dedicated to him. And the party is now his, that he controls. But they let the insane asylum take over. So now let it be what it be. That's what I say. I mean, just like they want to say that the socialists, control the Democrats, Biden's president. It is not Bernie, although he took half of Bernie's platform as far as programs like infrastructure. And it is not AOC. It is really the moderates who are ruling the nest. And on the other side, you have crazy town like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz, who both are one step away from, a mentally disabled chromosome running the nest. So I don't know. And Trump isn't far behind. I digress.
Okay, can I add one thing? I think for me, it's all about the culture. Look at the American culture now. We all watch like Housewives and the drama. And that's the only reason why Trump even won, because we want drama. And they want charismatic presidents who distract you from the real issues. And you guys, I think a lot of people in this country don't think critically. Honestly, coming from a different regime, I think you have to take both sides and you have to always take both sides in account, except for the drama. But the drama is the distraction, which, is part of the talk show.
I agree.
Okay.
I mean, I 100% agree with Sean. I mean, this guy's a criminal. And what are we going to do? Just say, oh, because he's an ex-president, we shouldn't put him away? Like, he did millions of things that are criminal acts that anyone else would be in jail for. We just, there's laws. We just can't let people get away with that. We should set these precedents already. And just because he's rich, he's gotten away with so much at this point. And I just think this has got to end. And I think the kind of like there's I guess, I don't know if it's astrologically or spiritually, there's an end to like these patriarchal societies where you're very pushy and obnoxious to get ahead, or you're an old white guy to get ahead. And the tables are turning a little spiritually. And I think it's time for this guy to be taken down. He's a horrible person. He's racist, misogynist, like, he doesn't like anyone. I mean, that's how he was brought up. And I think the people who were for him had those feelings inside. And he's the one who created all the dissonance in the United States. He's the one who said, go storm the Capitol, and he, go build a wall, and all these horrible things, which left us with a very opposing country. But it really started for him. It got all the crazies out. They were all like, oh, well, it's okay to hate everyone else. And look where we are because of that. So I think, his time has come, and he's got to, what is that called? Face the piper?
The music.
The music.
Or pay the piper.
Pay the piper, face the music. Yeah, it's he's a criminal, and I think it's time for him to be taken down. Now, on the other hand, we don't know what is in that indictment. Like, there's so many things we don't know yet, but I feel like it is going in the right direction.
All right. Well, thank you all for giving your opinion. In closing about this topic in specific, there are checks and balances within the government structure, and we'll see how everything plays out. Something to keep in mind is the amount of people who voted for him and the amount of people who voted against him in both elections. So, even though he may be the face of this party or the GOP, there's millions and millions of people behind him, like Biden is the face of the Democratic Party, and the countless of millions of people who voted for him. So I think Trump speaks for half, almost half of the country, where Biden speaks for the other half. But in closing, we'll see what happens. And I'm sure we'll all be watching the news and possibly even talking about it on the show as things unfold. I wanted to open the platform for other topics. Marianne, if you can go first with a topic that you brought for this week.
Yes, absolutely. So my topic is a sad one, but I think it's one that needs to be addressed. There is a Nashville, Tennessee school shooting recently, and I'm sure that everybody has heard about it. And I'm just curious as to what everyone's thoughts are on, I know we've discussed this topic, but I want to revisit it because I think it's important, is the topic of gun control. And do people need these semi-automatic weapons? What are your thoughts on, these school shootings, and what are some ways we can maybe work together to try and get them to stop or slow down?
I have a very easy solution. Okay. The year that the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and all that was written, whatever technology of gunfire and guns that were at that point in time, allow that to be free to purchase for everybody. In my opinion, you don't need an automatic rifle to hunt a deer. That's ridiculous. Yep. The only purpose behind an automatic rifle is to kill as many things as possible, as fast as possible. We don't need that in our population, in my opinion. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. But in my opinion, it's one shot, the mullet, give them that gun, let them pack the gunpowder, and I guarantee you there won't be mass shootings anymore.
I agree. Rocco, I've never heard that concept before, where you're talking about when they first wrote the Constitution, that's the type of gunfire that should be allowed. I like that idea. I mean, I've never even thought of it that way, but you're right. I'm with you. I do not think these crazy semi-automatic guns should be easily purchased. I just think it's crazy. It's awful. And it's scary, especially for those of us who have kids that are in school right now.
I agree.
Sean, what do you think, Sean?
Well, I fully agree. Muskets were what they were using. And yes, you can only fire a shot or two at a time. I think people do have the right to self-defense. So if you want to have a handgun or a shotgun and you're a responsible gun owner in your home, I think you should have that right. However, nobody needs a weapon of war. There's no need for it whatsoever, including our police. Train our police better too. I don't think the police need to, like when people are rioting in Ferguson, have tanks. We're going against our own people. If people in London can just have a billy club as, a police officer, then that means their police officers and their civilization are better trained than we are, or would better behaved. So then it's our responsibility to step up, not vice versa. And, the whole thing of having more armed guards in schools, supposedly Uvalde and other schools did have, security guards who were armed. They just weren't armed at the moment. So even if you put in an armed officer in every school, what if it's their lunch break? What if they call in sick that day? A million different variables could happen where all you're doing is giving more money to the very well-funded NRA on both sides. Thoughts and prayers have not worked because otherwise God does not care about children or thoughts and prayers. So clearly that is not the answer. The answer is actual legislation. And I say our thoughts and prayers should vote out the mofos who won't do anything.
Woo! You are on fire tonight, John.
No
I agree. I agree.
He's always on fire.
I know, he always is. Sean, I agree. I think it's okay to be able to have self-defense.
Yeah.
But this is taking it way, way, way too far. Way too far. And it's very scary. How about you, Bettina? What do you think?
Yeah, these guns should not be allowed to be purchased so easily. Do you know that when they weren't allowed to be purchased, we had far less of these shootings? It got overturned in the middle of the Obama legislation because he was being pushed by the NRA to make a shift, and he did, and that's when it started to having all these crazy shootings during that time period. So that's all kinds of wrong. And it's just a horrible thing. They've been blaming it now on the trans community because this one shooter happened to be trans, which is just horrible. They're trying to find every other reason other than the fact that it's so easy to buy guns. I mean, it's just horrible. We shouldn't ever be shooting anything. I mean, I'm against killing animals as well as people. I just don't think we should be doing that at all. Why? I'm just against guns and killing and shooting. It's just horrible. Why can we all just get along? It's like so dumb. So, but anyway, the laws have to change back,
I agree. And I did see that this particular shooter was trans, and I don't think it's fair that people are trying to highlight that and say that that's the reason, because I don't think that's the reason.
There's too many other chose. Yeah.
I don't think that's the reason that this person chose to do what they did. I think there was definitely some mental illness going on. But again, it all goes back to the availability of these weapons.
Yeah.
Not appropriate, in my opinion.
Right.
Eugenia, how about you?
Okay, thank you for waiting. I'm so passionate about this. I do play a lot of spies in the movies, and recently, there's been a thing with Alec Baldwin that happened on set, and I've been so cautious on set as well as real life. But that's the thing. I think, you guys, it's not about the guns at all. It's actually about people who are behind them and what intentions they have. And I think guns can be so politically used in any way. Look at the Parkland shooting. If we go correct, there was a guard who was standing behind and never acted. There was an officer who was charged who never acted upon protecting the students. I don't know if he had a gun. I'm not sure at this point. I can't be right, but he never acted out. So somebody had to parents were trying to storm into the school. I think it's not about guns. It's about mental health. It's about how people use guns for left or right politics. It's about that. It's about people. Stop using the weapons as trying to disarm some people from having their rights for self-protection. I'm for that, and I do train as anybody, working in entertainment business. I actually take steps to train. I train my kids. You have to be trained how to be around something as dangerous as that. It's a real thing, and of course I don't allow guns in my house, anything like that. I'm against violence, but I think you have to stop using guns in the news as to be left or right. I'm so anti-politics. I'm done. I'm sorry. No matter what. And it's just been used to divide us again and again. And it's all about mental health. Look at the mental health in this country. Like, I have 2 kids, I have a boy and a girl, and of course they're teenagers and they're so frustrated. Blame it on TikTok and China, okay? If you want to really go political, it's mental health. Like, TikTok and China is all about education. In US, it's all about making my kids dumb, and I hate it. What can I do? Throw their phones away? They won't relate to other kids, and that would make them an outcast, which would make them really super anxious. There's so many ways that we have to address the root of the cause of anything rather than just like the outcome, go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Some of that. To me, it's just like, yes, mental health is an issue, but we're not regulating our screenings of who's getting these guns. We're not holding parents responsible for not locking up their guns. Why should you have a gun that can kill 30 people in less than a minute when if you had a gun that only shot 1 bullet at a time, yes, it's going to slow that person down. So it's not taking away the person's right to bear arms. It's limiting what type of weapon they can use and how many lives they can innocently take, like Sandy Hook and Parkland. And talking about politicizing, the kids who were devastated, had their lives ruined by Parkland, were then attacked by the very media, teenagers being called actors and every type of slur that the media could think of because more money was involved on both sides from the NRA. I think it's disgusting. I mean, I think, yes, there's underlying reasons of why this happens, and they should be addressed. At the same time, no one needs, a weapon of war unless you're going to war, including our police officers, period. Learn to train people how to work properly and how to handle situations properly. That's it. I think it's too much money. Why do we fund the military 5 times more than any other country? When have we ever been invaded other than Pearl Harbor? And then 9/11, yes, planes crashed into us, but on ground invasions, how likely is that to happen? Where we need to have this, Canada? When have they, when has Mexico tried to bother us? I mean, who's connected to us that it's an imminent threat? I mean, so the funding of the military, putting bases in every country, we are the new Roman Empire trying to conquer, not to help.
Do you know
By the way, yeah, sorry.
No, you can go first.
Well, talking about the war that's happening, like, I researched so much into that, and I hate the war, but I think it's not going to stop because too many people are making too much money on that.
Yeah, I agree.
Once Japan surrendered, sorry, Sean, go ahead. You were saying something?
No, I agree.
Okay.
Go ahead.
After the US nuked Hiroshima and Japan surrendered, there was a conversation between the higher up military and the Japanese and the Americans. And they asked, why did you not do a land invasion of the United States? Why did you bomb Pearl Harbor? And they said, because we would never win, all Americans have guns. That was the only reason why they didn't do the land invasion. Just
But that
some
wouldn't
little facts there.
Yeah, it would change if we regulate things. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many guns do you need? How many guns do you, and when are we going to get invaded again? And if we want a civil war by allowing everybody to have these weapons of mass destruction, we're encouraging it. Just like, January 6th could have been so much worse because a lot of the people were former police, former military, radicalized and going to commit hate. The Proud Boys, neo-Nazis, this is who showed up to support Trump. Not, grandma, grandpa who may have voted for
Yeah.
Wow.
Eugenia, I really appreciate you bringing a fresh perspective to the topic I had, because it opens a whole new topic of mental health. And I think it's a huge problem that we have a huge mental health crisis in the United States. And I really like what you talked about. I like the fact that you brought that into this topic because it's a fresh perspective. It's a different way to look at things. And it does beg the question, is mental health behind a lot of these, these shootings? And furthermore, I also wonder how many people did not show signs of mental health struggle that did something violent to other people or themselves. I just wonder how many people out there are suffering in silence, and then boom, they explode, and then they go and hurt people. I don't know the answer to that, because I don't know these other people, but it does make you think. It really does. And the mental health crisis is very real. I have a friend that's a therapist, very good friend of mine, and they overload him with cases. He's got 56 people on his caseload. It's supposed to be 25. And the amount that they charge is very high. And, you go into the whole issues with insurance and how therapy is expensive and some people can't afford it. And then we get into affordable healthcare, and I'm going down a big rabbit hole. But I appreciate your perspective on this, Eugenia. You always have very good perspectives on the topics.
Well, ask your neighbor tomorrow, how are you doing? How's your day? Or a stranger in the elevator, and actually ask a question. Like, for me, it comes down to that, right? Just to be curious and open-minded and actually care about somebody else.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What's interesting is, Eugenia, you brought up your kids and TikTok. I remember, and I'm going to date myself a little bit now, but growing up, I remember overhearing many people saying, put down the magazine, because people would flip through magazines and compare themselves to what they saw in the magazine. I mean, fast forward.
Magazine. You mean like fashion magazine?
Yeah, sorry, fashion magazines. Right. So now we fast forward, to the year we're in now. Sorry, a fashion magazine. Right. Sorry, I grew up in that industry basically. But yes, a fashion magazine. And they would say, put it down. You're becoming so self-conscious because you're comparing yourself to that person in that fashion magazine. But now everybody has social media. It's like what was happening before social media, but on crazy steroids, on all these applications, and kids are growing up in front of a device, comparing themselves to every other person all over the world.
Yeah.
That has to be a huge issue and really affecting the mental health of everybody.
Yeah.
The best way to make yourself feel horrible and less than anyone else is to start comparing yourself to other people. And at the end of the day, we shouldn't compare ourselves to anybody, because we are all on our own path. We all make decisions, and we're going down our own path on this journey called life. And comparing ourselves to anyone is the first way to start feeling bad.
Well, can I add to that? Because I started modeling at like 13, and like, of course, you start comparing yourself in real life to like other models who are supposed to be in fashion magazines and now on TikTok. But I think any kind of tool, like we talked about, any kind of tools on the show is just a tool. So it's really about, like, of course, the kids are not grown up and their brain doesn't form until they're 21. That's what my therapist said. And I understand that now. I can't argue with my kids, and win an argument, but I have to understand that. But, any tool can be used for great. Like, you can use any kind of social media to spread awareness, and it reaches millions of people. So I think it's all about educating them and just realizing that they have to find their own unique self. And it is really hard. I think it's hard with all the filters and any kind of things. And it is like being on steroids, but I think also it has a huge potential for artists and anybody who has a message, like a real message to say.
I also think it's kind of sad that the media does glorify all this. So even by mentioning that this person is trans, or even, I did watch it, I must admit, the Netflix Jeffrey Dahmer, Netflix TV show, etc. It glamorizes the violence in a way that desensitizes people, I think, in general. And B, if somebody does have mental health issues, maybe they decide, well, this is the way I want to go out. I want to end my life anyhow, but I want to end it with notoriety or celebrity, in the most twisted types of ways. And even with Trump, and his indictment on Tuesday in New York, if there's any violence, who created it? largely the social media and the media outlets that are promoting it, saying that Marjorie Taylor Greene will be there to protest, that he's all outraged and he should show up. If the word wasn't getting out, like back in the day when, somebody had to handwrite your newspaper and pass it down the line, it's harder to form a big crowd or an angry mob, and now it can happen in minutes, So at a certain point, I do think we do need to hold social platforms and the media somewhat accountable to not glamorize these situations or encourage these situations. Or if even a president starts to instigate violence, turn off his mic and not cover it, period.
Well,
Just like people in any other insurrection.
what do you guys think about New York Times not following through the blue check on Twitter? I read that they're like refusing to pay for Twitter check.
Good.
I don't know much about those blue checks. It seems a little excessive to me. I don't really get what it does or anything.
More money.
Yeah. Another way to make money.
Yeah.
Makes the world
Okay.
go round.
That's right. I guess so. So the next host to bring up a topic, Ugina, your topic.
Oh God, my topic. Okay, I thought I was last. To be
Okay, you
honest
can
with
go last if you want.
Okay, I'll go last.
Okay. Bettina, your topic.
My topic was about these banned books, things that are being banned. Like, in Florida, it's kind of like a big thing about not letting kids read certain things about their history. So I want to know what you all think about that.
Well, the first time when I hear of banning books, the first thing I think of is Hitler burning books. I don't know what the books are. To be honest, I don't know what it is. But banning books, there's no difference between banning a book and burning a book. It's preventing someone from reading that knowledge in that book. I guess if it's some porny trash magazines and they shouldn't be in some type of public educational school system, I understand that. But something, that's educational or historic or something, as long as it doesn't violate any school policies or library policies, I think they should stay in. Again, I don't know exactly what these books are. I haven't.
They have to do with racist stuff, something called CRT, where you're teaching children in American history that's been whitewashed, like not to talk about the slavery and things like that. So you're getting a completely biased opinion about the United States history. Even in Hitler, in Germany, they talk about Hitler, like all the German kids know what happened there. But for some reason in the United States, they want to ban, or at least in Florida, they want to ban like talking about, and even in my small town of Warwick, New York, they want to ban talking about like what our history was. And then this whole new thing about having a story, I didn't know this was a thing. A transsexual reading stories to children has been a thing, and all of a sudden they don't want that anymore. So I don't believe in this banning at all. I think it's horrible. As long as it's not like pornography or something, I think it's important that we learn like the true story of our history so we don't repeat it. All right, Sean.
Yeah, I'm totally, it's critical race theory is what they like using. And essentially it's like a little white child might be offended that they learned their ancestors were mean. Get over it, they were. I think history has always been, even from when I studied history in school, whitewashed. Because you learned that like the Indians, broke bread with us, we celebrated Thanksgiving, and we kind of like really then went right past the fact that we shot them or coughed on them the next day, and only 1% got a casino years later. And then Cher sang a song about it. So, I think we've always kind of whitewashed it, but I think a lot of it is like Eugenia was saying before, to polarize us, to distract us. And also, knowledge is power. So to keep the same people in power and keep the dumb people dumb is the easiest way to do it. Slaves weren't allowed to read. Women were never allowed to read the Torah. So, it is a way of control and power. It is not anything to do with race. I think it has to do with with, control, money, and power, disguised with, social issues that are like, bait to the white sharks of racism.
Right on. Right
Hmm.
on. Okay, Marianne.
Well, here's what I say. The truth hurts. Sean, you were saying, well, they want to whitewash it or sugarcoat it. The truth hurts sometimes. Do we want people to know the truth, or do we want them to read sugar-coated lies? I mean, I don't think they should ban these books, unless, as you guys had said, it's pornographic, it's inappropriate. The fact is, my ancestors, a lot of them were probably cruel. And I hate to think about that. I hate to think that my bloodline, that I come from that, but it's the truth. And I think knowing the truth about our past, knowing the truth about how people used to be treated, that can spring us forward into learning how to be more kind and treat people better, and say we can do better than our ancestors did. But I don't think that we should hide the way things really were, or ban these books, as long as they're not causing harm. They're not hurting anybody. And yeah, I know I said the truth hurts, but it's not like it's poisoning your mind. It's not like it's something that you don't want your children to be reading, like pornographic material. It's truth. It's stuff that people should be learning in school. They should be learning the facts, because I think it's important to know the facts, because we need to continue to make positive changes in this world. And sometimes that starts with learning where we came from.
Well, I remember, learning in school, and I went to school in Florida before I moved to Italy when I was a teenager. But I remember learning about the Jewish slaves in Egypt. They talked about that kind of history. And we can't erase the history. The history is the history. But I also remember in my later teenager years, I was in Germany for a little bit, and I had made friends with people that were my age and spent a lot of time with them and discussed and talked. And what was fascinating, or not even just sad, what I thought was sad, was how much they beat themselves up for what Hitler did, even though it wasn't them, but it was their lineage, right? But I remember having multiple conversations, because I love history and I'm fascinated by it. How do you feel about the situation? And they just really, I don't know if it was just in the particular city I was in Munich, and their educational system was to like beat the kids over the head to make sure it would never happen again, or I don't know what, but they really beat themselves up over it. I'm not sure, again, about these books. I haven't read them myself. I don't know what they say. I think it is important to teach history, and we never forget about the history, but I think it's also important not to hurt people by teaching them the history. Like, it should be laid out in such a way that it's just factual. This is what happened. This is our history. But I think maybe the people that are trying to ban these books, again, I don't know what the books consist of, are feeling attacked, maybe, or bad, or again, I can't make up excuses why people are doing stuff, but I wish there was a way that in that specific state, I guess, or any states that are thinking about banning books that have historic factual value to them, that there was a way to educate the children so they know the entire history of the United States and other countries. Unfortunately, our educational system sucks. Unfortunately, the American educational system is horrible, and the average American is dumb. It's not because we want to be, right? It's because I believe, and again, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm right. If you can keep people repressed, you can control them. If you can keep people down, you can control them. If you educate and you inspire and you raise up, now you have a higher elevation of awareness, intelligence, thought processing, critical thinking, and things may go in a certain direction that you don't want it to go in if you're leading the country, But again, to revert back to these books, I think it's great to keep it historical. I think it's an awesome idea to educate all of our kids and our kids, the country to the best we can with facts.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's kind of ironic too, because right now they're saying by a certain point within the next 20 years, there's going to be less white people in our country than any other race. So I think a lot of this is our politicians clawing to power to keep their grandkids in power and other people in power. And that's what's creating the civil war amongst ourselves, is to create the fear that people aren't making the livelihoods, they're not getting the benefits from the country that they would want or continue to want. When Social Security was created, most people were dead by the time they could collect it. So that was a lie when it was instituted, and it later became a truth. So I think there's many things that the politicians don't like about where things have gone. And of course, if you're in power and your family's been in power, nobody wants to surrender that power. So to pit the peasants against each other is an easy dynamic. And I think that's what this is all about. There's very little truth, and it's all about clinging to power and feeding to people's anger and differences because it's the easiest thing to throw out.
Well, I think actually, I so agree with you guys. And I think, Rocco, you brought something super interesting, is like shame and history of your DNA, which, I can super relate to growing up in post-Soviet Russia, where I totally didn't believe in history of like whatever, the Soviets won the war and the propaganda and the 4 channels. And as a child, I was trying to be rebellious and question that and my dad was a nuclear scientist. Like, I wanted to think outside of the box, but I was put inside. I was like, no, you don't know. This is the history and don't question it. This is how it goes. And I was punished, I was bitten and feel ashamed, so I understand that. But also I think it's so important to stop cancel culture. You can't think black or white. You have to think gray. There's nothing that comes out of written things that we can manipulate. It has to be all presented in the table, and then everybody can judge for themselves. And that's the way, you create a future.
I agree with you.
Well, that was interesting, right? All the different opinions about the banned books. Okay, does anyone have another question? I can pass the baton. Sean, did you come up with a question?
Sure, I was going to talk about the shooting, but when in doubt, vagina candles and Gwyneth Paltrow. So, because, I have one burning right now. It smells lovely.
What does it smell like exactly?
Experience from what I've heard. And so, anyhow, recently, supposedly, she was a daredevil on the slopes. She banged into an old man. It gave him like dementia, but she only wanted like $1 in a countersuit. And what I think is very kind of interesting and admirable is that she just fought it because she said, no, I really didn't bang into you. This isn't really what happened. And both sides brought the case, and then she won the case. And then everybody started comparing her lawyer to Clark Kent because he wasn't unattractive and he was her lawyer. And I guess, he was burning her vagina candle after work. So what do you guys think about this case? Any thoughts?
What is a vagina candle? I've actually never heard of that in my
she
entire
has a
what
perfume
is that?
She has a perfume called "This Is What My Vagina Smells Like."
Yeah.
And she makes candles.
Gwyneth Paltrow said
That
that?
scent. Yeah.
Smell
with
the
that scent.
vagina, Rocco. Come on.
How come me and Sean are the only one who know about it?
I don't know. Maybe it's a New York thing.
I know about it.
Okay.
It's her own scent, like it's her scent.
That's what she calls it. This is what my vagina smells like.
She's very sexually proactive, and she sells a lot of sex toys. And then she came up with this whole thing.
Idea.
And yeah, it was very huge. Like a whole thing.
I guess I've been just so busy working with FNL Network, I haven't really.
You got to go candle
Gwyneth
shop.
Paltrow's vagina candles. Okay, I'll have to Google that, I guess.
Shakespeare and vagina. It's my
Hey, if FNL Network starts coming out with penis candles, we'll know where the inspiration came from.
There you go.
I burned that.
You see 2 penises here next time on the 200th episode, you'll know why.
Well, we have 2 now. Let's go, Rocco.
Exactly. Come on, let's go get them implanted.
Get those matches, you two.
Let's have a penis off.
Actually, my friend had a condom smell perfume. It was super huge in New York at some point.
Did it really smell like condoms?
It did.
Huh.
That's interesting.
I'm very
Was it a
into,
flavored
like,
one or
natural
something?
scents, like lavender. The rest of this stuff.
That's wild.
The
I
rest
think
of it is
I think
crazy.
controversy sells, you guys. Controversy
Right.
sells. That's
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
see. Anytime you're controversial, and I heard that from many advisors, from agents, just be like the opposite. Say one thing and do the opposite thing, and that will work.
Nice. No, I heard that Gwyneth was very nice to that guy. She bent over at the end of the trial and whispered in the ear something like, "I wish you well," or "Good luck
Yep.
to you," or something like that.
But
Yeah.
wasn't she wearing like inspired by like serial killer fashion the whole time? Wasn't it like inspired by Dahmer, kind of like, the whole thing, the sunglasses? It was all, I'm sure, it's sold on Goop.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, she sells her goop. I didn't know.
Marketing, you guys.
Wow.
What about Marianne? What candle are you burning? Is it a vagina like Bettina's, or is it more lavender like Bettina's?
Or is it a donkey candle to represent your new
Feels like
donkey?
sheep.
Thank you. My
Smells like
God,
barn.
I'm
Cow
telling you
dung.
what.
Cow dung candle.
I bet people would buy that candle just because they want to know what she smells like. Sorry, I'm just,
I'm sure they will.
Come
I'm
on,
serious.
bud.
I mean, she's Gwyneth Paltrow. Hello, people want to know. I mean, I don't, but I'm sure. I mean, honestly, it's probably a pretty smart marketing tool, as little as you think about it. I love candles, but I don't know what my husband would think if I burned that one.
Might be like a threesome with a candle. I don't know.
That's the only one he's gonna get.
It's only Sunday. It's only Sunday night. It's only Sunday night.
The only one he's gonna get, huh?
Yes.
Well, on that note, you guys, we're running out of time. So I have last question, and I want to take it from Diana, our host, who's not here. I want to acknowledge that it's her question, actually. And she brought up this thing about marriages in Hollywood, like Reese Witherspoon is getting divorced, and it's a little bit of a lighter question on the night tonight. What do you guys think about that? Like marriages, should they last? Should they work? Should they not work? What is your point on that?
In my opinion, I mean, I would think we would all want them to last forever. I think there's a lot of pressure when you're a public person and you have a spouse and you constantly have cameras in your face. There's constant temptation. There's constant situations where you're in a film and your co-star is gorgeous and you guys have to do all kinds of scenes together. You're kind of forced together. So ultimately, it's like the constitution of that human being. How strong are they and how dedicated are they to their partner? I've always heard all my life, easy come, easy go. Hard come, hard go. Not necessarily that has to be the way it goes, but ultimately the soul and spirit of that individual that is marrying another individual, those are the determining factors whether they're going to stay together or not, no matter what arises in front of them or circumstances that arise in front of them, in my opinion.
What do you guys think?
I'm a romantic. I like the idea of a long-term marriage for everyone. I became a minister at one point. I actually married like 5 different people in my lifetime because I believe in it. And I mean, I got lucky. I'm married. I'm going to be married 30 years in October.
Wow,
I
congratulations.
got lucky. I never thought that would happen to me, but there it is. And so I believe in that. And I believe like people should work things out together. But then again, if you're so far apart and you've grown so far apart and you're just so different, or there's some abuse or something, and you really need to move on, then do that, But mostly I believe you try to work it out.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
John?
I believe,
Oh.
I think I'm sorry. Did
Go
someone
ahead.
say something?
No, go
I'm
ahead.
just, as far as marriage, I believe that if there's, like you were saying, Bettina, abuse is a big factor in, ending a relationship, obviously, or infidelity. But other than those two reasons, those are my only my big two. If there was abuse or infidelity, that would be why I would leave a marriage. But other than that, people talk about growing apart. Well, I think you need to find ways to grow together. I think that as long as there's not infidelity or abuse, take time to be together, take time to do things together. I know it gets rough over the years and you have these ups and downs. It's bound to happen. And sometimes I'm sure people get in a rut where they're just so used to the same routine. Change it up a little bit, take a little vacation, go somewhere you've never been before, even if it's a day trip. I think keeping things interesting and keeping things exciting can help make it last.
Can you elaborate on the abuse? Is it just physical or emotional or both? And then, of course, we all know what physical abuse
either
is. What about
one.
emotional?
Emotional, I believe, is and can be just as bad, if not worse.
Right.
And I think that is absolutely a reason to leave a marriage. I know that I have for that reason in my past, because emotional abuse can take a huge toll on your mental health, as it did for me. And I would not be the confident person that I am now had I not left that situation, because those types of people can drag you down and they will hold you back. So I think it's completely okay to leave for verbally and emotionally abusive people as well, because 9 times out of 10, those people don't change unless they're willing to commit to some intense therapy.
Right. Or something crazy traumatic happens in their life that breaks them apart, that they have to be rebuilt back up through therapy.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Sean, what do you think?
I grew up working outside of theme parks, so I'm all for the happily ever after. I think that's ideal. To agree with Rocco, I prefer a hard come over an easy come. On top of that, I'm the only one single. So if anyone watching wants a real house husband, SeanPBennett.com. Reach out. I'm tired. I'm ready. I'm desperate. Call me.
Well, the question, Sean, are you a top or are you a bottom? That's what they want to know.
I'm a top, but are you offering? Oh,
Oh, I'm married. I'm okay. Thank you.
all right.
Oh my God.
Oh my
So-
gosh. I
so-
love you, Sean. I love you to death.
I'm shy.
I really do.
He's so shy.
Oh my God. I
You know,
love
I've known Sean since I was 14 years old, actually.
Wow.
Or 13.
Yeah, it's 2 years older than all I remember.
We did a commercial for Disney together in Orlando.
Yep.
Wow.
What
What did you play? What did you
That's
play?
awesome.
We were writers of the house, what is it called? The
Tower of
Hotel
Terror.
Tower of Terror. That's right.
Oh, I love that.
Can you
guy.
show this commercial?
Oh, we would have to find it. I don't even know.
Well,
This was before internet, actually.
Yes.
Please,
that would
please
be
call
amazing. So maybe
Disney.
it's
Call Disney for the 100th anniversary of FNL Network. We
And
need
play
to
our
insert
commercial.
that.
There you
maybe
go.
we should find that commercial.
Love it.
That would be awesome, actually. We'll have to look it up one day. I don't know
So-
how.
Thank you guys for answering that. I mean, I'm always in awe, for me, like relationships are just like you never stop loving people no matter who they are, where they are. And it's true, there's so much pressure on like the labels of that, but like they change so much. And I think love just exists no matter when you are. And I know people who are like not married anymore and who love each other, and know people who are married. And I've been married 1 more year than Reese Witherspoon, but I swear to God, every morning I wake up, I'm like, am I going to be married to my husband today or not? It's like a question.
I hope he doesn't watch this episode. But
No, he will.
Well,
But I think we live in the present moment. And that's the thing is like, I have so many different loves for so many different people in a different way, and it's
Absolutely.
just all about giving
Well,
and not being selfish with
Do you
labels.
know, in the English language, we have one word for love. In the Greek language, there's many words for different types of love. There's the love for the person you're with, eros. It's the romantic love. There's a love for the parent, a love for the mom, because we love many different ways, but in the English language, we just say love. So when I lived in Greece, I remember someone explaining that to me. I was like, oh my God, I wish in the English language we had multiple words for the different types of love we have. Because you don't love your dog the same way you love your child, or the same way you love your partner, or the same way you love your mom, or
But I love you guys.
Oh, I love all of you too.
All our viewers should light penis and vagina candles and love away, baby.
Oh my God.
Now I know
ocean
what the
champagne.
next holiday gift needs to be for everybody. If you receive one of those candles in the mail, you'll know why. And you just have to figure out whose scent it is from the cast. How about that?
John.
Which vagina is this?
Oh, wow. Well, this has been awesome. I'm happy to be back for this episode. Thank all of you again for making this happen, and everyone involved for allowing us to be nominated and win, an award. So I'm very happy about that. We are an award-winning talk show now. And the audience out there, you are the most important. Thank you for watching and supporting and telling all your friends about us. I hope everyone tunes in for the next episode, which will be coming out next week, and has a very lovely evening. Thank you.